Okay, let's start. Welcome to our today's session. So first of all, I hope you are doing well with your individual or group projects. So just in case you have any concerns, any questions, let me know about. Yeah, and secondly, so as I said last week, you can fill in the spreadsheet with the topics you may want to discuss this week. So this is the one I shared last week. I don't see any topics named, so just in case you have anything, please fill in it here, and then we will discuss them. So that's the first point. Just in case you have anything you want to discuss, then let me know. Secondly, it's that's this file, this one. So in the final project, I see that most of you already filled. So only Ellen, please then fill in the game you want to implement, and just so you can know. Okay, and yeah, so it's about the organization. So again, we have the final project presentation next week on Monday. So I will also double check with Sanda if anyone, but so who will join, and if they are fine with the time joining next Monday. So I'll also double check it with Sunday, but I guess that should be fine, and we will have the final presentation on Monday then. So the day will be the same. It also starts at 6:30. I will share the link with you and also with Sunday and her colleagues, and then I will give you the chance to present your solutions to everyone. Yeah. So this is about the presentation. If you have any questions, let me know. So this is about the planning. The planning, and yeah, if there are no questions, we can start with the topics for today. As I shared with you in the agenda, today we'll talk about the link syntax in C#. We'll go through some examples here. I don't have any presentation about it, but we'll go through some examples. And then we will also talk about so previously we only developed the console application, so it means that we just simply run the .NET program we have on console, and then we have the input. We have to write the input in console, and then also you can only see the output in console. Today I will introduce different type of application to use. So this would be some moment. Yeah, I also mentioned it to you last time. So that would be Windows Presentation Foundation. Is so it's VPF application. So basically, so again, if anyone of you works with Java, that would be the GUI, graphical user interface applications. So in this case, that would be the same. So just simply more user-friendly interface, and like the buttons. Actually, you'll see. Yeah, but first of all, let's start with link statements. As I mentioned about it during the presentation about the databases. So this is the special syntax used in .NET in C#, and it is used with the collections. So with the collections, with the arrays, and this it is called link. The language integrated query, but it is quite simple to what you can see in SQL, and basically, so before we wrote only into SQL queries, and the main problem for them is that they are not syntaxically checked. So you basically write the string, so the text, and the string is then it's executed and checked on the database query level. So in this case, but of course it won't be checked during the compilation since it's just a simple string, and this may be the problem for us. When we write the program, and yeah, it also may trigger some syntax issues and also some database related issues. Of course, this is what we want to escape, and for this purpose we can use link, and this will basically provide it. The syntax for link is quite similar to what you can see in SQL. However, here it is written on the language level, and it is simply checked by level. And yeah, by the way, in some programming environments, in some programming languages, in some frameworks, there is such option to use, which allows you to use the like not just simply SQL queries on the database level, but you can simply write similar queries in the code, and it will be checked. So as maybe the most popular example, at least from my experience, it's Laravel framework for Laravel PHP framework. Yeah, so if you're familiar, if you heard about it, so that's the web PHP framework that can be used. Yeah, so it can be used for the web development, and of course, since we talk about the applications, web development, of course, there should be the integration with database, and yeah, so basically, there are the, maybe I can also share some screenshots with you. So a moment, I can even share some code examples I have with you. So let me open it, and you will see what I'm talking about. Yeah, as before. So if I open one of the programs we had before, let me open it. So go back. This one we can use. Yeah. And so here we go. It takes some time. So the application is opened. That's loading. Okay, so it's loaded. And here we go. So as you remember, we have if we wrote the SQL query as string. Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about. So we'll just simply write the string, and of course, since this is the string, it is not checked. So just in case we don't have database table, or maybe we have some spelling mistakes in the query for the moment, or it looks in just small remark from C#, show PHP example. So just you can see how this may be implemented in different languages and different frameworks, and it takes some time. Yeah, so just it is loading. Okay, so finally opened, and I will show you one example from PHP Laravel framework. So it is loading. Okay, I'm almost loaded. Okay, let me check. That's just for your information how this may look like. So, and it's loading. Okay, so it's finally loaded. Let me check. Check some queries. Kind of here. One moment. Moment. Okay, so here we go. We will show you some examples. So if I'm not mistaken, this may be this one. No, hold on. This file. Yeah, and by the way, I also shared how the syntax looks in other languages because there are some questions if it's easy to switching between the programming languages, what's the best programming language to learn, and so in practice there is no answer to the question what's the best programming language to learn, because there are lots of different programming languages, and in some environments you need to even use different languages there. So it depends, and in fact most of the languages are similar, and so if you learn one of them, you'll have the skills, you'll have the knowledge, so you can, I would say, easily move to other languages. So for example, I guess I have some database queries here. So quickly check. Yeah. So in fact, this may look something like this. So I have the class, I have the methods. Yeah, there is a little bit of hard coding here as well, but at least the syntax may look quite, I would say, for me, quite similar to SQL. And in fact, yeah, let's check on the programming level. Yeah, and by the way, this is PHP, just in case you work with it in future. So this is how it looks like. As you can see, the syntax is, I would say, pretty much similar. So all the if statements here, but there are some technical differences in PHP. So most of people are concerned about and worried from and scared from the dollar signs in PHP, but this is just one small thing there, just for the variables. For the variables, PHP, the dollar signs are used, dollar symbols are used, and for the constants, they are not used. Yeah, that's just a small remark. You can see that it is quite, I'd say it's quite understandable. But okay, maybe let's not jump too much in PHP, but just a small remark how this may look like. And in C#, in .NET, there's the similar way, comparing to what I just shown you in in PHP Laravel. So we can basically use link syntax. So maybe let me open another folder. Let me open the project. Oh no, sorry, let's create a new project. Yeah, and here we will go through some link statements. So I will still select console application. Next time I will select the VPF application, and that will be select examples. Yeah, it will be great solution. And yeah, so I can select target framework. That would be .NET 5. That should not be the issue, it's not the problem. And here we go. So here we can start coding. And let's start with the simple, let's say, local example. What we have is that, let's say that we have the array. Okay, so I create the array of strings. So again, in practice, this may be any array you get from anywhere. Yeah, so that's not the same names. And here I can enter some names. So that would be John, James. One more element. So we have the array again. In practice, this may be just any array received from anywhere. So please remember, if we have the collections, especially when we have the array lists, and the array list can be simply converted into the array, into string array, or just any other type of array. Yeah. So in that case, you can easily get the string array. That won't be a problem. So in this case, we just simply hard code it, but on practice, you may receive it from anywhere you want. But yeah, so in this case, let's assume that we have the array, and we can write some queries. So for example, let's yeah, in fact, link is quite similar. If you maybe heard about the lambda expressions, so lambda expressions are quite popular nowadays in lots of different languages. Yeah, so just in case you heard about them, so link is quite similar to what you may. I mean, there are some elements from lambda expressions, what we can use in the link, and yeah, so we'll use some elements from our lambda expressions. So let's then proceed. So let's say that we want to select the words that start at let's say J. Yeah, so we can filter tomorrow. So let me find the words, and here I can find the variable. I can use var. I can use string array. Yeah, again, var is just a shorter way, maybe easier. Let's say it's as easier, a smaller way how we can define variables. Yeah? So again, for the var, it just simply works in the way that the type we pass to the variable during the variable declaration is the same as the type of the variable is the same as the type of the value we pass to it. Yeah? So in that case, since I will pass the string array, then it means that the type of the variable will be the array of strings. So and then I write from. So and from where? From the names as the variable, right? Then oh no, hold on. Yeah, so hold on. That's different one from name. So here I have the variable, and then the next one would be from names. Yeah. So again, this is similar to for each loop. So as you remember, there was for each we declare the variable, and then the variable is in the collection, or it's the array. Yeah, so here's the same. From we have one element, one element in the collection, and then this would actually represent the element from the collection. And what we can do here, we can apply the where statement, and this where statement will check the condition, and the condition will be, let's say that we, again as I said, we will filter out, and just not filter out, we just simply get all the words, all the names that start at J, start with J. So and then I can name. So we have name, and here then I can apply the operation, and that would be where say name O equals J. since I have character, I need to then get J, and let's select the name then. And so what's the problem here? Strange one. So. Strange one. Hold on, yeah. Yeah, hold on, sorry, I forgot to maybe what's, yeah, sorry, I forgot this line first. Yeah. Okay, alright, that's fine. Yeah, so just don't forget to add the line that we're using the link. Yeah, so yeah, it was strange that the words were recognized already, but without the addition using system. Okay, so now it's fine, and let's just check what are the words. Select there. So used for each loop here, and then again the syntax will be similar to what we have here. That would be, let's say, word or name. Let's say word or name, it doesn't matter what kind of variable here, because in this case the variable will only be declared in this level and it will not go outside this query. Yeah. So in this case it means that after this one is executed, we don't have the variable name or just anything what we declare here, what we use here. So in this case we can go through all the elements from here, and then I can maybe even more. I don't think, yes, I don't like using the brackets on one line, so in this case let me write line and that would be the name. Okay, so let's see what I have. So I can execute code. So it's loading, take a little time. So console is opened. Now, okay, and so we have the names. So you can see that the query is executed correctly. So yeah, here we have the results. Do you have any questions about this query? Yeah, so this is called the simple console. I'd say that we use kind of the variable. Yes, in this case we actually declare name as the variable, which is used only on the query level. Then I say from where, so what is the collection we are working with. Yeah, so again, similar way as we work with for each segment. And okay, so here I have the collection. I use where query, so it's that filtering. And then here I provide the filter statement. And if the statement is true, then the name is selected and actually added to the collection, to the array. Yeah. So that's the point. If you have any questions, the audience start thinking. So, 3 questions. We'll go through some more examples where you can use link symbols. But just in case any questions, let me know. Yeah, so off topic, that's fine. All that array with names in real projects come from database. I mean, yes, yeah, we'll see some examples, but yeah. So mostly we talk about the data which comes from the database. Sometimes there are some cases where we do actually need to define the collections locally without the data received from the database. But mostly we talk about database. It may be also some user input. Yeah, so let's say you have some kind of table which is used or fulfilled by user. So in that case, we can actually get the data. The data will be put in some kind of array or collection. But yeah, actually the key point is that we can simply transform the collections to the array, and in that case that will actually be the same here. But yeah, so the point is that mostly comes from the user data or just simply some kind of data. And it's obviously that the data mostly comes from the database. However, I mean, the thing may be that usually happens that it's not like we always read the database, so sometimes it may be the case that you have, let's say, the screen, yeah, you have some kind of data on the screen, and usually it happens in the way that the data is read in the from database, yeah, maybe, well, no, maybe not only at the beginning, but or maybe not only from database, but also just from some kind of data storage. It can also be the local storage. For example, you have the website which is hosted somewhere, and then from the hosting place you have some files you read, and then the data is taken from there. So that's also possible, and in that case, yeah, we cannot really say that that's the database data. However, it's also the data read from the server place. Yeah. But yeah, so it also depends. And at the end, so when all the data is read, it can be stored somewhere. And as an example, it can be stored in the any collections. If it's the array, the arrays or just anything else. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, but it really depends on the case. Yeah. Initially, the data may come from the database. However, it usually happens in the way that it is read by one class, one method, then the data from there is used in another method, then it's used in another method, another object, and there may be a huge linkage in between these methods and classes, and at the end it may be really far away from the selection query in the database. But yeah, so it may be transported in between the classes, and again, in this case we mostly use just one to class. On practice, the programs use tens or even maybe hundreds of classes executed during the one program, and of course the data can be exchanged in between them. And then, yeah, in theory we can say that the data comes from the database, but in fact data usually just is moved in between the classes, in between the objects, and yes, and this is how it usually works. So, okay, then let's move on. Let's move on with some more examples. So, for example, we can also get the return result write it, not only into the column. So that was a moment. So let me comment. Oh yeah, we were just some shortcut there. So let's say that we want to enter the better, but write the result into the not into the array but into the collection. So in that case, that would look a little bit different. So let's say that we want to write it into the so into the generic into the collection which uses the generic data type. So in that case, as you remember, we need to import the corresponding library. So that was collection, system collections generic. This one. Yeah, and so then I can get variable collection type. So let's say we have string here. So that would be, then I will name it as jwords, and then I will use then the same selection query. Yeah, from. So let's see what we have the result now. Okay. Time. Just taking a little bit of time. No. It's a little bit. Okay. I'm not sure what I had to enter, but okay, so we have the same result. Yeah, so in fact we can use the arrays, and here we can also use the collection. So let's try using the just a moment. This is strange shortcut for the comments. Okay, so let's try using the let's try using the linked list here maybe. So remember that we have linked list. So yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so that is good point, Maria. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. I forgot about zooming. Yeah, because normally I use the zoom of 200% or 150%. And yeah, so of course for the screen sharing, it's better to use 250 or 200 or even 300%. So let me check. So it should be better. I set to 250 from 200. Okay. Take a little time. But yeah, thank you very much, Mario. Because I forgot about it. I'm not sure why do I have this silly zoom. But okay, I guess that's not a problem. But yeah, so now it should be better, right? And now my screen is pretty slow a bit. Yes, so it is back to work. I just my screen is at this space. And it's okay, so it's back. Some way. So let's use linked list. So I will select it around here, and that will be the string. Okay. Here my screen is a little crazy. Okay. So now it's back. Let's try basically the same with the collection, with the linked list. So let's say I create a linked list. Okay, and let's add basically the same elements. To make it more, I can add other elements. So let's say I added in the last position. Some other names. Make it different. More and let's add 2 more. And the last one could be let's see, that's the array. Okay, so in this case we don't have the array, we have linked list. Let's try and see what do we have at the result now. Okay, so here we go. It takes a little bit of time. It's fine. Yeah. So now you can see that the result is the same. Yeah, so the key point here is that we can actually work with different kind of collections and then apply the linked syntax to them. So yeah, this is fine. Do you have any questions so far? Yes, so in fact we can apply more filters here. So for example, in this case it doesn't matter to use the array or the collection, such as the key point here is that the input type, not the input type, but input from this program perspective, maybe not only the array collection, but just any kind of collection. So instead of linked list, we can also use. Maybe for non-generics, this may be a little bit more tricky, but yeah, so just in case you use generic collections, then this will be fine. The generics, yeah, as you remember from the previous session when I talked about generics, is that the key thing for the generic is that they have the type which is basically checked by the compiler. So we simply say if we have the object with the determined type, yeah, most will use it for the collections, and then we simply provide what is the type to be used for the exact collection as the object, and then it will be simply checked by the compiler after that, and so it's much more easy to work with such collection types. Yeah. So then in this case, since we receive something from the query, so in this case it doesn't really matter what's the if that's the array or just any kind of collection. So let's say we have long words, for example, and let's check let's select all the words which have the length greater than 4. So I can write something similar to what we have, and let's say that the length. Oh, sorry, that name. Let's say that the length be greater than, say, 4. Let's remain there. Problem. Oh, okay. So here it's better, yeah, so here it's better than to use a numerable first string. What else? What's there? Yeah. No, okay, no error, just a little bit of fighting. So, and then let's print these words there. And words. And let's print the result. Okay. This one. And this one. Here we go. Okay, so now I can see that. Okay, so now it needs to then split these these two printing parts. Let's say that I want to open the file. Okay. So let's just simply print line break. /n. A little bit funny, say. Let's see. No. And so you can see that corresponding words are printed. And so, from this perspective, everything seems to be fine. Do you have any questions? So just a little bit forward. Not. So just some freezing there. Moment. One moment. Wait. Okay. So this. fine now. Let me check the other things. And there's nothing happening. It. So one moment, let me check for one potential solution. Oh, I can make it easier for me. One moment. I have one idea. I have two computers. Parallel, so I can maybe open some files on my parallel computer or phone. Yeah, so one moment. I will then open the file on my parallel computer. One moment. Okay, almost there. I have just two computers in parallel. It will solve my issue. Hold on. Log in. Oh, okay, hold on. Let me do another thing. Let me quickly then do another thing. Give me 1 minute. Okay, almost done. Okay, so almost done. Okay, so now it should be better. Okay. So I'm back. And let's move with other examples. So let me quickly get my. Okay. So the next one what we can do is maybe I want to take some examples. Maybe take things. Maybe 1 minute. Okay, maybe at this point, that one won't be really that productive. Okay, then maybe at this point, I guess we can then finish the thing. Yeah, in fact, I mean, since it would be would work the same way. There I need to then establish the connection to the database in a quite specific way. Yeah, that may be not really stable in this case. Okay, then maybe at this point let's then finish with them. Some syntax may be similar. I will not go through all the details there. I will share the file with you so just you can test. And maybe next time, so just if we have time, maybe next time we can also go through some more syntax of that. But for now, as I promised, what I want to share with you is that we implement the VB app application. So let me select it. Yeah, by the way, if you press on the project, you can search for VB app and it should be there. VB app should be there. And yeah, then you can select it, and let's say that here let's add the so again let it be the officers in this case. So in this case, what I want to have is that we have the user-friendly application. So that will be actually the window where we can easily add or delete the officers from the database. So this will be the task for this session and most likely also for next time. So let's see how it goes from the time perspective to us. So let's see. So officers districts. Yeah, so let's name the application this way. Yes. And let's say that we'll develop such application. So the idea is that we'll have the list of the officers and districts already entered in the database. So we will present it on the screen and we will fill in new officers and districts from there. So first of all, let's see what's basically the VBF application is comparing to what we had before. Before we simply had the application from the console. It means that we run the console application. We can provide some input there, and then we have the result at the end. So in this case, this would work a little bit differently. In this case, we have the window. You have the window which has some setup. Yeah, so basically, the window can be, in this case, it's initializing. It will be visible here. Okay, and in fact, we can define the layout from here. So let's define the layout. Let's see, it's largely a little bit, but it should be. The window should be visible there. And let's then define it. So I can find the title. That's fine. Maybe I can find the title as officers and districts. and yeah, then I can also define a grid style. Yeah, so I need to define the style. So let it be. Yeah, first of all, that is the style where I can define the tags. Yeah, so this is kind of XML syntax. So that means I have the tags, and here I can define them. So that would be the key. with style. So one and targets have to be. So this is just a technical thing. I will not really comment this one. Just to define type. Tag. Yeah, so this is just definition, and now the next thing for us would be that we define a content. So we define a content, and we will place this content under the stack panel. Again, the layout may be different based on different applications. In this case, we will define it this way. Yeah, in fact, this may be different. So and then let's find the so number of rows. So we will define. Let's say that. Let me think. Yeah. So let's say that we have 2 rows. The first row will contain the input fields, and the second row will contain simply the enter button. So and the number of columns to be. So you can also setting a little bit. Okay, designer file here. So let's also define the number of columns we'll have. So here we go. Here is our window. So then when we change something here, it will be reflected here. So then let's say that the problem here. Oh yeah, so number of columns to be. So what we'll have the name. Okay, maybe let's start with the officers first. So let's say we have some kind of maybe let's start with 5 elements and see how much will we need then. So we can find the margins. So I'll define them this way. 5 O and O. And then then let's define the elements. So first of all, maybe I'll define the elements. So it will be the name. So it will be text element, of course. Text box. So elements. So it will be text box. And then the name would be name. So here I have this text box. I will add one more. This would be the surname. Yeah, in fact I can also apply some changes there. So in fact we can manage the layout from here if we want. So let's try to do it. In fact, I can basically switch it as I want. Let's put the center point here. Okay. It takes some time. Come on. I'm gonna try this one. Try them this way. Okay, that is off the center point. Maybe delete it from here. So here I can set some properties, and again let me maybe delete them. And what I maybe want to do is find a row. So if I'm not mistaken, I can find a row here, and then I can close the elements here. Hold on. So what's the point here is, okay, so I have some markup issues. Oh, sorry, hold on, let me maybe make them. Let me maybe transport them manually. That's good, that is crazy transformations. And let me check this one. So maybe let's keep using this one. We don't need it for layouts. Oh yeah, I mean, let's set the orientation up to allow this. Orientation of default is something. Okay, so now we have the elements aligned horizontally. Toolbox, no, I mean the toolbox can also be used here. Toolbox can also be used here. But yeah, so just for this particular example, you can find lots of different layout definitions. This is maybe not so important in this case. Yeah, but yeah, so there may be different layout definitions. So regarding toolbox, toolbox that can also be fine, if I'm not mistaken. But in this case, let's maybe use the text box. There are different layouts what you can use. It depends on the scenario. In this case, maybe. Yeah, so there's a fireworks. And yeah, that's what we. So I'll change to how it behaves. So let's now adjust them. 50 and that would be maybe to say 100. So now it's better, maybe 130. And let's change the height to 40, for example. Okay, and then let's use the same for the surname, and of course let's change the sequence of them. Okay, so and then let's do the same for. So yeah, we have the. Maybe later on we'll add this to the drop down for the district. Maybe for now it's just for the test case. Let's use NET-7. So yeah, by the way, if you use control space, you can find some other additional parameters. What you want to add here. So can we just for the label we cannot do it. Okay, that's fine. And yeah, so maybe for the testing purposes that may be fine. And let's maybe add another button there. And so as an option, let's also change the size of the button. And also maybe like 30. Maybe heights. Might also be, let's say, 40. Maybe let's change the list to 40 as well. So maybe that would be 50. So by the way, I can also move it to the right. Cool. Comments. One quick moment. Okay, maybe let's keep it at this point right here. So yeah, what's the point? What's the point here is that and let's maybe also add the list at the end. This one. So let's say that we'll add the list box at the end. And let's define the name for it. So else the name would be Say officers. Yeah. So let's close it. And yeah, so let's then implement the logic. So let's say that, so first of all, we have the example where we just simply, yeah, so by the way, we have the view, we have the layout, and then on the other hand, we have the implementation part, so basically the class which will implement this logic, and yeah, here we can add the listener. Yeah, so by the way, the idea is that, oh, hold on, yeah, let's also add the listener on the bottom. Yeah, so usually when we have such user interfaces, then we have the elements and we have the listeners on them. So it means that, for example, for the buttons, we can press on the button, then the listener event is then triggered, and we can process this event. So for example, from here we can add this listener as on click. At the moment, not on click. No, it should be on click. No, so just simply click. Sometimes it's called on click. So it's called click. So in this case, it means that this would be the event which is called on click. So we add, let's say, the officer. And by the way, let's also then add the label for the button. So it will be add. And then the list of the officers will be added then on the right. And here we can implement the listener. Okay, so here we are. Alright, so here we should, yeah, and so the idea is that here we'll have this listener. So the listener should be the name of the name we use here for the quick email. So this is basically the event which will be triggered there. Then let's define this event here and trigger the logic. So that will be the private void. And then the name will be add officer. So it will have the object sender, and also routed arguments that can be passed. It will be stored as the object. Oh, double F, yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. It's double F here. So did I add it here? Yeah, so it is add here. Yeah, thank you very much. So and here I can access the list. The list of these officers, and then I can add the element there. So since this is the text box, I can make it quite simple. So that will be, so I can access the officers there, and I can access the items from here, and then I can add a new element. So, and the element will be, so I can contain the name as, so that would be the text from the name and surname. Okay. So let's see how this will work. Yeah, so fortunately computer is lagging a little bit, so this may be a little bit slow. Okay, let's try again. Okay, it's running. It's running. Okay, so we are almost there. Yeah, by the way, if you have any questions, let me know. Yeah, so by the way, this class has main window, so you can see that it is inherited from the window class, so it actually means that all the protected methods and all the public methods available for the window class will also be available for this particular main window class that is defined here. And here I have this window open now. Move it to another screen. Okay, so the question from Owen, so if we have an already written code in Visual Studio Code, okay, for example, it's not possible to simply modify it to make it that we have to rewrite it completely. So I mean, you can open, so if you have the C# .NET project, so you can open it from here, open window. You can open it from here, but in case so I mean you can open any Visual Studio Code written project, .NET project from here. What you simply need to do, you need to go to Open Project, then select the CS proj file. Yeah, so just in case you want to open the project. And it will simply open the project, your existing project here. And so you don't need to write the code. If you want to reopen the project from Visual Studio. In case you want to change it from simple project to not simple, I mean from console project to VPF project, then it may take some work. You would actually need to then copy paste the files. And yes, in that case, you need to copy paste the class files. I mean, you can use the classes, so in that case, you simply need to copy paste the classes used and then adjust this logic in the way that it is acceptable for this interface. But I mean, you can copy paste the logic, and yeah, mostly you can copy paste the classes, and then the classes, if you have everything in different classes and different files, then you can paste files here and use them from here. Yeah, so if you have separate classes, then so this is also the advantage of using the separate files for the classes. You simply can copy paste the files, and then you will have all your logic available there. So, okay, I see the questions from now. Yeah, sure. Any questions, let me know. Yeah, so here we don't have a program class. Yeah. So let me maybe first we show the example. So let's say that I add the officer. Yeah, so we can see that the officer is added. So maybe no, basically the idea is that the new element will be added here. But yeah, so what's the point? The point here is that we don't have the program class, we have main window CS class in this way, in this case. So in this case, basically you have this program as the main program. And yeah, so maybe a short introduction to what we have here. Again, we have the class which is inherited from window class. So it means that all the parameters from window class, all the properties, all the methods are, all the protected component methods are inherited from the window class. So in this case, they both are windows, and this is our particular case where we have window. And yeah, so in this case, initially we have one method. Yeah, this is actually the constructor of the window, which calls the initialization of the window itself. If we don't have it, then actually the window won't be initialized. And then in addition, we can add the listeners. The listeners, like in this case, we have the listener on the button click, and then the corresponding element will then be added to the list. Yeah, so in fact, we can also read the data from the database and add it on initialization. So let's use such example. Yeah, so see, I want to start with the question. Also, any questions? Let me know. So the question from Elena, how I understand that data source for this form will be our database. Yeah, that's a good question, and actually this may be yeah, that's a good question, and now we will go through this one. Yeah, so in fact, so this is the class. Yeah, so here we can implement the logic we want and we need. So for example, I will take the logic we implemented before for officers and districts. So let's start with officers at first. This will make it easier. So a moment, I'll quickly search for the code we implemented before and paste it here. Let's let me open it. So let's open it. That's the class view. Let's use Station 4. That might be better. And let me quickly open them. I'll copy paste the classes from the database used before.